Okay, hello YouTubers. This is a quick short video on a very interesting, a very rare synth called the Ampron Aubade. And Aubade, which can be pronounced many different ways, I'm pronouncing it more of an English way, translates to a morning song for lovers, or a song at dawn for lovers. So, interesting name, but more interesting is the synthesizer. This synthesizer is possibly one of the only working models in the world that I've been able to find. It is strangely a flip-top synthesizer, so I can bring this down, as you can see. Sorry about the poor video here. It closes down. The construction of this is amazing. To flip this up, if you were to have your hands caught in there, it would probably break your fingers. The whole unit itself weighs about 75 pounds. The construction is insane. Here's a volume lever, which is so smooth, it's like butter. It almost feels like it's gliding, but it has a good resistance to it too, so it is not a loose. It's just phenomenal. You can see the wood trim around the bottom of the synth. Here is the power button with the red LED light that shows it's on. Once again, the switches are unbelievably solid, tight. The knobs are here, obviously, and it's broken down into 4 sections. Now here's where the real uniqueness of this thing is kind of laid out. As you can see, this first section is labeled Dynamics. It has portamento, bend. Then we go into individual effects, which are tremolo, wah, and vibrato, with a speed button, which I will show you later when I actually turn the thing on and make some sounds. Works more like an LFO. It's almost, well, it controls the speed of the effect, obviously, but when you're using it, it almost has an LFO effect. So you can get repeating notes going in very interesting little cycles. It almost sounds like a little arpeggiated kind of style. These little switches here are labeled overtone and root. Overtone and root. The next section, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, sonority. So we have a resonance section, which is basically low and high, as you can see. We have another low and high. We have the emphasis on the resonance, and then we have a low cut filter there, which, once again, I will show you later, doesn't have too much effect. In fact, in this mode, in this position, the synth tends to sound the best. When you do turn the low cut, it really affects it very quickly, and the sound kind of, well, it just kind of loses a lot of its character and depth. So, let's go in closer here. Growl, which is another effect in this section, is basically adds like a distorted type effect. And the growl also has a tone control, so you may control the amount of the growl. Once again, these switches are absolutely amazing. There is a resistance, but a smoothness that I've never seen on a synthesizer before. Okay, let's skip along to the next section. This is timbre. Once again, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. We have, as you can see, just a kind of a quick setting from 0 to 10. We have a tuning button here. Let me show you. Sorry. Which has the flat and sharp, and it does work. It does affect. We have a triangle wave, a square wave, and pardon me there. I'm forgetting. I think that's a sine wave. Sorry, I'm put on the spot here. I'm forgetting my basic waves, but yeah. So we have individual controls for those. What's interesting too is we have a scale, as you can see. So what you essentially get is a 5-octave range with this keyboard. The first one is C1 through 4, next one C2 through 5, Then we have C3 through 6, C4 through 7, and C9 through, or excuse me, 5 through 8. Pretty weird, just all things considered. Now here's a button here to put, it says pull to defeat tone generator, so when you do pull it, it completely cuts the sound. And it is a noise generator in its own right. So that's kind of interesting. And then our last section, of course, is transient, and which is your attack, your ADSR section, which is your attack, decay, sustain, and release. And then here is our monitor output for headphones. Once again, jack is amazing. The quality is amazing. Now this synthesizer, there is only one other that I've seen listed in 2000, the synthmuseum.com, which is still an active website. However, I don't think it is currently kept. The curator, Dave Wilson, who happens to have the only other known version of this synth, his emails and his phone messages, his phone and his email no longer work. I don't know whether he has passed on or whether he just stopped running the site, whether the site is the actual New England Synthesizer Museum, which is what the place originally was called, which is now called Synth Museum. I don't even know if it's fully operating anymore. I tried to contact a person named Jay, who's called the new curator on the website, but I have not heard any response back email-wise or anything. But Dave Wilson had the only other one of these online. So his was non-working. It did not. It was in very bad shape. There was scuff marks. It was missing most of its knobs. So I have no idea, since these are so scarce, that this may be his version or his synth that he somehow managed to refurbish and basically put back to its original condition, though original condition is an oxymoron since no one knows what an original condition one looked like. This may very well be it. This was rumored to be made in France. According to him, he was just wildly speculating because of the name. It's a French name. But you cannot Google any information on either Ampron or the Aubade. In fact, the only references online are the synthmuseum.com and the actual My eBay auction, which just recently ended 10 days ago, and the original eBay auction for this same exact item that was sold. I'll tell you the little hindsight story behind this. It was sold for $633 to someone who, in my view, made a terrible error of judgment, who decided not to go through with the sale, who maybe either chickened out or maybe it was an eBayer who just basically got on a bidding fringe and didn't have the money to pay for it. So the item was relisted, and I purchased it for the winning bid of $1,034. Now, you might say to yourself, well, $1,000, it's pretty pricey, but that isn't that much considering how rare this thing might be. What the real story with this synthesizer is, it is such a mystery that is part of the reason why no one even knew about it. In fact, there was only one or two other bidders who were bidding on this, and no one seems to know where it came from. There's no background information, so a lot of people might have gone to do a quick look at it, but since they can't find any information online, I'm assuming a lot of them were very hesitant to bid on something that they have no idea what it is. And that's the little side part of this story is I have, as I keep moving, I hope I'm not making people camera sick here, but let's look at some more details. I also left out, the fact that there is in the back of the unit, if I flip this top, you can kind of see a little bit here. Looks like there's some vents back here. There's two silver kind of steel holdings for the power cord, and in the back there is an external outputs are for a pedal and a high output and a low output. Now The low output sounds a little dirty. The high output works fine. The pedal I have not tried. The only issue with this synthesizer that I've noticed, I've gone through and played it, is there is a slight kind of low rumble when you press a key down underneath the initial synth sound, which is pretty clear. You will hear a slight kind of almost like the sound of blowing into a microphone, like a kind of sound, a little bit of dirt. It sounds like a little bit of air. So that is something I will get into later when we actually do the sound testing of this. But I have reached out to everyone in the synth world. I have been on the phone with techs and synth gurus and pretty much the who's who of the synth world, and no one seems to know much about this synthesizer. It has been rumored that it may be a prototype. I emailed Kevin Leitner, and Kevin Leitner is probably one of the world's renowned Moog repair tech experts. He feels that this is almost too nice and too well built to be a prototype. Often prototypes were hastily put together as kind of just a rough example before they actually went and really fine-tuned. The construction on this, like I said, is amazing. It weighs about 75 pounds. It is about 8 inches longer than a typical mini Moog, which it seems to mimic. To me, it kind of is like a cross between a Moog Sonic 6 and a mini Moog. Just in resemblance, just size-wise, it resembles the Moog Sonic 6, but it has more of the build design of the mini Moog. It is incredible. I mean, I am just blown away. Now, going back to my eBay auction, I was floored that I won this. I saw this. I was one of the few people that kind of knew about it. I had always had it in my mind that I've always wanted a rare synth, and you know, there are plenty of amazing synths out there. The ARP 2600, there's the EMS stuff that's amazing, but that's always been outside of my price range, and it has always been my dream to own either a rare prototype or just a rare analog. So in a lot of ways, I feel like I've stumbled onto a gold mine, not necessarily with a value worth, but with the sense of the mystery behind this thing. It has drawn blanks across the synth world. Everyone I've talked to, though, however, wants to know more about this and has asked me to post videos doing the sound, of course, and hopefully getting into more details. Now, the amazing thing about this board is the other beat-up version at the Synth Museum or in New England. When that person, Dave Wilson, opened his up, he discovered that the circuit or the boards and the components were all painted black, and not painted black haphazardly, but was done in a very meaningful and purposeful manner. Now, that would lead most people to assume that this was done to prevent reverse engineering. That would be the only logical reason why that would be done, which even makes the mystery of this thing even that much more intriguing. However, that also makes for a nightmare scenario when going to repair. If this item, which, like I said, does have that minor issue, will need to be looked at and repaired, and a lot of techs I've talked to have some have actually said they would not work on it because they wouldn't want to take the liability for it. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. So I'm making this video. I will be making another video on the sound of this thing shortly. I do want to document it because I'm fully aware that this thing could just die one day or die immediately, and I could be, you know, the sound would have never been documented, and it may not be able to be brought back to life. This is definitely the cream of my collection. I have a small, if I look around here, believe it or not, this is a Korg MS-20 Legacy collection. This is not a Korg MS-20 original. This is, in my opinion, the coolest modeling synth that has ever come out. I did the custom wood ends on it, and I have it with the iPad, the MS-20 version. I do have an ARP axe sitting up here. I have a Critter and Guitari micro piano synth, which I absolutely love. If you're unfamiliar with those, fantastic. The build quality, sound is totally cool. So yeah, those are amazing too. And I do have a custom-made Dopfer that I built using the Dark Energy module, and then I took an old Fatar MIDI keyboard, and then I built the actual casing around it. I can give you a quick look at that. It's probably a little dark, yes. But so that was my own fun project that I've done. So I don't have a huge collection. I have a Rhythm Ace Multivox, kind of a copy of the Roland TR-55, which I absolutely love. So my synth collection isn't huge. In the past, I've owned some, some notable synths, I guess, and some weird quirky ones. The Kai AX60 was one that I owned. Roland JX3P, which is not really a big deal, but I've had my share of funky weird, especially in the late 80s, early 90s. I had a brother who was one of the first ones that got into selling old gear. Before there was an eBay and before there was kind of an online thing, he would do mail order kind of deals and sell random, 808s, 909s, MS-20s, mostly that he found in pawn shops for a few $100, if not. I can remember him buying an MS-20 for $75 in a pawn shop in Seattle and selling it to a person in Japan back in 92 or 93 for $800, and we back in those days we thought that, wow, that was amazing. It's amazing how things have changed via eBay. But getting back to this Ampron, sorry, a little distracted there. I am looking for anyone who knows anything on this. So please post if there are any other Ampron owners out there. I'm hoping there's not too many of you. The fewer there are, the better it is for all of us. But if anyone has any idea on the synthesizer, if anybody knows if it's been used on any albums, it would be greatly appreciated. I have been approached, and I have approached a filmmaker about an idea of making a documentary on this synthesizer because it is literally a mystery. I would love to find out who was responsible for this, whether it was some mad genius in his basement that made a few, or whether it was a company that put out a few of these and then went belly up. Maybe their cost and research went way higher than their actual affordable budget. So in the meantime, I'll try to step back a little bit and give you a fuller size video. Sorry, I'm not a professional videoer. But so you can see the relative size compared to little MS-20 there. Hopefully that's not too dark. But okay, this video is getting a little long, so please comment. Like I said, I will put up a short video in the next few days on the sounds, which, in my view, are incredibly unique. The effects section, the wah and the vibrato and the tremolo, really add a uniqueness to this. As far as sound quality, I'm not going to say it rivals a Mini Moog or any of the classic synths, but it is definitely a good sounding analog synth with, more importantly, a unique sound quality. Some sounds that I don't think have really been done on any other synthesizer, as far as I know. So, but that's it. I would love to hear your feedback, and any information would be fantastic. Like I said, I would. The goal is to make a documentary on this. Obviously, I'll hire a real cameraman and filmmaker because I would probably make all of you seasick and nauseous with my filming. But yeah, so feel free to post and let me know if you have any idea or links. Anything would help. Thank you very much.